Welcome back to Kotlin playlist. In this video, we're going to learn how we can create multiple variables at once or break down objects to multiple variables. And this way is called destruction declaration. So say for instance, you have a data class called player. And here you have two properties, player. You have two properties, for example, nickname, type string, and level of type int. Now you're going to create an object of this class. So val p is equal to player, and here you must provide the properties or the values to the constructor. So I'm going to have answer for the nickname and 10 for the level. So whenever you want to access these properties, the only way to do that is with the object, with the p object here. So you're going to say println p dot nickname, then p dot level. So instead of doing that, there's another way to do that with destruction declaration. So all you got to do is just open the parentheses, and for each property you add a name. So for the nickname, for example, I'm going to add n. For the level, I'm going to add l. It doesn't have to be the same names. You can choose whatever names that you want. And whenever you want to access them, you access them with the name that you specified within the parentheses here. So println the n and println the l here. Now if we run the program, we're going to have the same result that we specified within the constructor. So the question now is, why did I choose a data class instead of a regular class? This is because data classes handle this automatically. So data classes handle destruction declaration automatically. And if you wish to make it for a regular class, you'll have to do some work. So let's just try it for a regular class. I'm just going to delete the data here, and I'm going to open the body of a data class. And as you can see, this is not doable yet for a regular class unless we make some changes. So for every property that you have within the class constructor, you have to create a function that returns that property. And this function must be an operator function, and the name or the naming of the function must start with component followed by a number, and this number must start from 1. Let's just see this in work. So I'm going to make an operator function called component, must be with a number starting from 1, and this component here will return the name. Then I'm going to make another operator function called component2, and it will return level. And here we are left with no errors. If we run the program, we're going to have the same result. So behind the scenes, data classes override these functions for you without any interference from the developer. Another use case for using the destruction declaration is with lists or with collections in general. So instead of accessing every item with the position or the index, what you could do is to do it with the destruction declaration. So here I'm going to make a variable. I'm going to name apple, orange, and lastly strawberry. And this is going to equal to fruits. And whenever I want to access any of these, I'm just going to call them by the name. So apple for the apple, orange for the orange, and lastly strawberry for strawberry. And sometimes you don't want to access every item. So for example, you only want apple and orange. You could get rid of the strawberry and you'll be just fine accessing apple and orange. But other times you want to access, for example, the first item and the last item, but not the second item. So instead of doing this, you have to give the name again to the last item and ignore the middle item with an underscore. So here the middle item is not used, and you only access the apple and the strawberry. And if we run, we'll have apple and strawberry. The most useful case for using the destruction declaration is obviously with maps. because you can access the key and the value at the same time, maybe with a for loop. So I'm just gonna make a for loop to print every key and value. So here I'm gonna destruct it to add the key and the value for every key and value in my map here. And here I'm just gonna print key is key and value is value. Key is 1, value is 1, and so on. Destruction declaration can also be used with lambdas. So here I have a higher order function called getName and age, and it takes a function, and this function takes an object of type player, and it just returns nothing. And within the function we just return player with astro and 21 for the level. So whenever we call getName and age function, you're gonna see that the player is passed to the lambda here, and instead of just println it referring to the player dot level and nickname, we will destruct this object. So here I'm just going to say name and here the level. Don't forget to add the arrow, and now we could access each and every property separately. So println the name, and lastly println the level. Destruction declaration can also help us to return multiple values from a function. So as far as we know, we can only return a single value from a function. So let's just try to return multiple values from a function at the same time. So here I'm just gonna create a data class that represent the return type of a function. So data class is going to be called result, and it's going to take three properties. Val in1 is just of type int, and then in2 is just of type int as well, and in3 of type int as well. Now going to create our function, and this function is going to take two numbers, and it's going to square both of these numbers and find the sum of the original numbers. I know this is very trivial example, but it will just show the use case of having for using the destruction declaration with a function. So fun square and get sum. I'm gonna call this square and get sum, and it's just gonna take two numbers, so x type int, y type int as well, and it's going to return result. And now let's just return the result, and result takes the first number, so I'm gonna take the x squared, so x multiplied by x, then y multiplied by y, and lastly add x to y. And here whenever you use the square and get sum, we're going to create multiple variables at once. So x, y, sum, I'm going to just call it x squared, y squared, and lastly sum of x and y. And this variable here is going to be equal to square and get sum. I'm going to pass 2 and 4, and now we can access the first number squared, the second number squared, and the sum of 2 and 4. That's it for today's video. Thank you for watching, and I hope I see you in the next video.